the tryouts it's for a full year, so we do them in like April and May.
April, May.
Yeah. Does she?
Good evening. Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the Moorestown Board of Education Candidate Forum. I am Christina Aldas Milligan, President of the Moorestown Home and School Association, and I would like to thank thank our candidates and all of you for attending tonight. Thank you to Katie Brownstein and Dina D'Aloisio for moderating, and I'd also like to extend a special thank you to Colleen Carey of Moorestown Public Schools for providing the technical support for our live stream. Home and School prides itself on bringing quality programs like this one tonight. We cannot do this without your support. Please consider becoming a member of Home and School so that we can continue to provide support for our students and schools. And now I'd like to introduce Katie and Dina to begin the night. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina, for inviting us to organize and moderate the Board of Education Candidate Forum again. Tonight, you'll have an opportunity to meet the candidates who are vying for position on the Moorestown Board of Education. Candidates, when I call your name in alphabetical order, please give a wave. You'll have an opportunity to introduce yourself more fully in a few minutes. These candidates are running for a 3-year term. Katie Berman, Saima Butta, Aisha Hassan, Danielle Miller, Claudine Morano. We're grateful to and have deep respect for these folks who are demonstrating their commitment to excellence in our schools and our community by running for the Board of Ed. Thank you.
We kindly request that the rules of the evening are followed out of respect for our candidates. First, please silence your cell phones at this time. Audience members are asked to refrain from outbursts or comments during the forum. Individuals who do not follow this policy will be kindly asked to leave. Candidates should present their qualifications without disparaging or attacking other candidates. If a candidate is personally attacked, they will be given the opportunity to respond. To ensure fairness, laptops are not permitted. Candidates may use paper notes or printouts to help answer questions. No questions or topics were provided to the candidates in advance. All candidates are expected to respect the time allotted for each portion of the forum.
Please note the Board of Education election is nonpartisan. To avoid any perception of bias or conflict of interest, we ensure that the volunteers who have previewed and prioritized the order of tonight's questions included even numbers of Democrats and Republicans. We're doing our best to run a fair and balanced event, and we appreciate your support and trust in us. On that note, I'd like to briefly describe the process that we used to select the questions that we'll be asking tonight. We received about 40 questions in advance from voters. The team sorted them by topic, and then, based on the frequency with which certain categories appeared, we identified the most popular themes. In some cases, similar questions were merged into one, so they may not read exactly as the original question did, but the content did not change significantly. Since it will be impossible to get to every question in tonight's hour-and-a-half forum, after it's over, we will send the candidates all the questions that were asked in advance. This will ensure that all voices are heard and will enable the candidates to keep voters' concern in mind as they round out the last couple of weeks of their campaigns and, if elected, serve on the Board of Ed.
In alphabetical order, we will now meet the candidates. Remember, candidates, to watch for the yellow and red cars indicating your time is running out. Caitlin, you'll be going Katie, sorry. You'll be going first. You'll have up to 2 minutes to introduce yourself, why you want to serve on the board, and the top policy or issue you would like to see addressed.
Katie Berman.
Okay. I'd like to thank Moorestown Home and School and Braver Angels for organizing this event, and to all of you for taking the time to come out here tonight, and for those of you who are watching at home on the live stream. A little bit about me. My husband Andy and I moved to Moorestown over 17 years ago when we were opening our pediatric dental office in town. Like many of you, we moved here for the schools. We have three children who all attend Moorestown schools, one at the high school, one at WAMS, and one at UES. I have a background in education, including a master's degree where I specialized in special education. Before we started our family, I taught in multiple different educational settings, including public school, alternative schools, and a charter school. I'm in my 13th year as a Moorestown Schools parent, and in that time, I have been actively involved with home and school and have held leadership positions at both the district level and on the individual school level. I've started many programs that help both our students and the community, including initiating and coordinating programs to donate unopened food from the cafeterias to a local food pantry. I'm also actively involved in serving the community beyond our schools. I've been a board member of Moorestown Soccer Club for 6 years and a coach for multiple sports in town. I also have been very active working to fight food insecurity, both in Moorestown and in Camden, where I help run a food pantry that I helped get off the ground at a youth organization. I'm also a member of the newly formed Pedestrian, Cyclist, and Traffic Safety Committee in town. As far as the number one issue that I want to see addressed, it goes along with my priorities overall. I really want to work toward the vision of creating a fully equitable school district. In addition to that, my priorities are collaboration and transparency. For collaboration, we need school board members who want to work with others in a positive way to do what is best for our students. For transparency, we need a board that is willing to show the public what it is that we're doing and why. And as for equity, we need to ensure that all of our students have the opportunity for success and that all of our students feel safe and seen. Thank you.
Saima Buddha, you're next.
Good evening. First of all, I would like to thank Moorestown Home and School and Braver Angels for sponsoring this event tonight. My name is Saima Butta, and I have been proud to call Moorestown home for 19 years. I'm a physician assistant, a community organizer, and a volunteer. But most importantly, I'm a mom of 3 Moorestown High School graduates, one now proudly serving in the US military. I'm a mom of 3, so my second one is in the medical college, and the youngest one, has just started school at Drexel Engineering. For more than 25 years, I have founded and led nonprofit organizations, organized events for healthcare, for addressing food insecurity, and supported drives for clothing and school supplies. For the past 5 years, I have been serving on the Sustainable Moorestown Committee and helped Moorestown achieve silver certification from the state. I also serve on the Burlington County Board of Social Services, and I'm a member of New Jersey State AAPI, Asian American Pacific Islander Commission. I know how to bring people together, manage change, and get results. Like so many families, my story is deeply tied to our schools. As an immigrant, I came to this country believing deeply in the promise that strong public schools open doors for every child. That belief is why I am here tonight. I have seen firsthand the strength of our district, and I know that with the right leadership, we can build on that foundation to prepare our students for even greater success in college, careers, and in life. As someone who has dedicated her career to helping people, I believe service and accountability must guide our schools. My mission and my vision is simple but powerful. First, to make sure our educators have the resources they need to reach every student. Secondly, to expand guidance and social emotional learning so our kids have the support to thrive academically and emotionally. And lastly, to advance achievements by using data and evidence to help every student reach their full potential. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to introduce myself. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Aisha, you're next.
Good evening. My name is Aisha Hassan, and it is an honor to be here with you this evening. I'm going to begin by thanking the organizers and each of you in the audience for your engagement, thoughtful questions, and commitment to Moorestown's future children and families. I'm a physician. I'm also an associate professor at Drexel University. I'm a wife. I'm a mother of 2 young children and a proud Moorestown resident. I was born and brought up in New Jersey and raised in Montgomery Township, a community much like this one. I earned a double major in biological sciences and public health from Rutgers University. I went on to complete medical school, followed by specialized training in anesthesiology, pediatric anesthesiology, and acute pain and regional anesthesiology at the nation's leading institutions, including Children's National Medical Center and Boston's Children's Hospital at Harvard. Throughout my career, I have developed complex clinical programs in resource-limited settings, including one of the most advanced pediatric acute pain regional programs for the underserved populations. These experiences have strengthened my belief in data-driven decision-making, responsible budgeting, and leadership that serves for the public good. 4 years ago, I moved to Moorestown with my now 7-year-old son and 6-year-old daughter. We are proud to call this community our home, and I am deeply invested in its future. Over the past year, I observed a concerning shift in tone and focus of some school board leadership, from collaboration and student-centered decision-making toward division and personal agendas. The Board of Education must be a model of respectful, transparent, and fiscally responsible governance. If elected, I will advocate for prudent budgeting, meaningful investment in our schools, and a fair allocation of pilot funds to support both educational excellence and tax stability. I am committed to servant leadership that listens, unites, and always places the needs of students and families first. Moorestown deserves leadership that unites, not divides. I'm running for the Board of Education to restore that purpose. Every voice deserves an environment to be heard, and every student deserves to thrive in an environment shaped by respect, collaboration, and excellence. I will listen to you, I will work with you, and I will fight to protect the values and future of this incredible community for your children and mine. Thank you.
Danielle Miller, you're next.
Good evening. Thank you to Braver Angels and Homan School for moderating and making this event possible. My name is Danielle Miller, and I'm running for re-election to the Moorestown Board of Education. My husband, Chris, is a Moorestown graduate, and like many alumni, we chose to return to Moorestown to raise our family. We have 4 children. Matt graduated in 2017, John, Charlotte, and Olivia, who are currently in the district in 7th, 5th, and 3rd grades. Professionally, I hold a master's degree and a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from the University of Pennsylvania and Villanova University, respectively. For the past 19 years, I've worked as a structural analysis engineer on military aircraft programs at a global aerospace company. I lead teams of engineers, manage multi-million-dollar projects, and hold certification from regulatory bodies to ensure aircraft changes and repairs meet design criteria, military specifications, and contract requirements. Beyond my professional background, I've been a dedicated and familiar face in the community. I've served as a room mom, a catechist at Our Lady of Good Counsel, a volunteer in STEM programs across the tri-state area, and most recently as a youth field hockey coach. When I first ran for the board, I knew my technical training and analytical mindset would bring a valuable perspective. As an engineer, I'm data-driven, process-oriented, and skilled in assessing risk, compliance, and long-term planning. These strengths have proven to be assets on the board. Since being sworn in as a board member in 2023, I've served on the Finance and Operations Committee, the Negotiations Committee for the Administrator's Contract. I've led successful negotiations on the current teacher's contract, and for the past 2 years, I've served as the chair of the Curriculum Committee. I was honored to be elected by my fellow board members as vice president in 2025. My record reflects my strong commitment and the ability to put in the time, energy, and focus this role requires. If re-elected, I will be ready on day one to continue the work we've started to keep moving the district forward. Thank you.
Claudine Morano, you're next.
Thank you. Thanks to Homan School, and thanks for everyone here and watching. And what a great group we have, very talented women interested in serving the community. I'm proud to be part of the table here. My name's Claudine Morano. It's been an incredible honor and a great responsibility to be on the school board over the last 3 years. I'm a proud Moorestown resident with my husband, Ralph. We have children that started their journey in Moorestown from South Valley. Alec is a graduate of Penn State, and Eric is now a freshman at Auburn. I'm an attorney, and I'm an owner of an advocacy firm in Trenton, where I help nonprofits navigate policymaking and state government. That experience has been invaluable in supporting one of the board's primary roles in adopting policies that truly serve our students and our community. During my time on the board, I've had the benefit of being on many committees. I've served as chair of the policy committee, so I feel like I have a little heads up on one of the questions in terms of knowing what some of our priorities are. I'm on curriculum, finance and operations committees I've been on, negotiations, health and safety. I'm the liaison to SPEAK, our special ed group, Garden State Schools Coalition, which kind of gives us exposure to what other districts are doing, as well as the New Jersey School Boards Association liaison for Burlington County.
These roles have really given me a solid foundation to understand how our district operates and how we can govern effectively. And I've demonstrated a track record of success. When I sat here, well, not really on Zoom, I sat here 3 years ago, I said I would use my advocacy skills to benefit the district, and I've done just that. One accomplishment I'm especially proud of was leading the effort for distraction-free classrooms. Our new cell phone policy, which is effective this year, was shaped with input and collaboration from parents, teachers, administration, and our new superintendent as well. The policy keeps students focused on learning and teachers focused on teaching. As policy chair, I intend on making sure that we don't blindly adopt policies from Trenton and that our policies are true to our Moorestown community. Is that it? All right, thank you.
Now, candidates will be able to respond to the questions that were submitted in advance of tonight's event. As mentioned before, we prioritize them based on which topics emerged the most. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer each question, and will continue to rotate which person answers first. Danielle will answer the first question. Danielle, which aspects of the recently approved referendum are you most excited about? And which aspects do you see as the biggest challenge of the bond referendum? What would you do to work around those obstacles?
Okay. So our referendum, which successfully passed last month by 2/3 of the voters, so that's wonderful for our district. And I bring experience and knowledge behind this successful referendum and in a position to get it across the finish line. The board needs to oversee the spending and this preclude any scope creep to maintain the proposed timeline. So that might be a challenge. Timelines can be challenging, but hopefully we can manage that to keep on track to reduce distractions to students in the classroom. The most excited part I am about this is opening the curricular space in the getting rid of the maintenance garage and opening that up to technology and bringing in kind of the trades industry. We're seeing a shortage there, so I think bringing that back to the schools is becoming more and more popular. So that's what I'm really excited. I think that experiential and hands-on learning is essential to that industry, and not only that, but I think it would benefit the entire student population to spark curiosity, innovation, and creativity beyond the classroom.
Thank you. Claudine, would you like the question repeated?
No, I think I'm okay. I think what I'm most excited about with the referendum, that's tough. There's so many good things in there. I think making improvements to UES. I think a lot of the community does realize that UES has some struggles. Moving and making it a true elementary school will have a significant impact on our families and our students at UES. I think as far as I'm going to piggyback on Danielle, because I think when we take that space in the high school, we'll have a lot of opportunities to use it in unique ways, whether it's for vocational or hands-on learning or just opening it up to small group instruction. We have a lot of creative opportunities to use that space. I think our timeline is going to be challenging. I think disruption to the school, I think we've got a lot of questions from the community of how the WAMS construction is going to happen and how much the children are going to be present. But I'm confident in our superintendent and our business administrator to manage that system and make sure we have the least disruption possible with the best possible outcome.
Katie? Absolutely. Which aspects of the recently approved referendum are you most excited about? And which aspects do you see as the biggest challenges of the bond referendum? What would you do to work around those obstacles?
First of all, I'm really excited that the referendum was successful. As far as the parts of it that I'm most excited about, the grade shifts, moving third grade up to the UES and making that third, fourth, and fifth grade upper elementary school, I think developmentally is going to be great for third graders. I think they belong with fourth and fifth much more than they do with pre-K through 2. And on that note, moving the sixth grade to the middle school. Developmentally, they definitely belong with 7th and 8th graders. There is such a big difference between 6th graders and 4th and 5th. And the opportunity that it's going to provide 6th graders in this building for extracurricular activities, sports, clubs, all those things, I think it's going to be an amazing opportunity for kids in that grade. As far as challenges, I think figuring out the best way to shift the third grade teachers and the sixth grade teachers to go with the students, as well as the resources that go along with that. The libraries at the lower elementary schools include a lot of books that are mostly meant for third graders. So do we move all those books, or do we keep them there for second graders who are already reading chapter books? Like, that's a challenge that's going to have to be figured out.
Thank you, Katie.
My bad. Yeah, all right, time's up.
Saima, it's your.
So I have the similar answer because I feel that the sixth grade going into middle school would be a great idea after referendum, because with 3 children, I've seen that the kids, it's not age appropriate, because all over the place, 6th, 7th, and 8th are in middle school, and we are the only school in this area who doesn't have that. So that would be really wonderful, and the sixth grade will be prepped according to geared towards that. Secondly, I feel that for the lower grades, we're going to now need more teachers, because we have a full-time kindergarten. So we'll need more teachers, and the good thing is that our township is getting a lot of low-income housing, which is going to benefit the new young teachers, to kind of allure them to our town, because the younger people don't want to stay here anymore. But if there's housing and subsidized housing available for them, it'll be, I think they'll love to move here. So that's a good thing, in my opinion.
Aisha?
Thank you. So I am also very excited for this referendum for numerous reasons. But with that being said, I did ask a lot of the community members about their happiness and upsetness with the referendum. So overall, from the people I've spoken to, including myself, I am super happy about the improvements in technology, the classroom space, and the flood mitigation, all of which are going to uplift our schools and directly benefit our children. I think this is a huge benefit to Moorestown, and especially the fact that we'll have new HVAC systems, guys. It's great. So our kids will be safe and cold and warm when they need to be. But like many Moorestown residents, I do worry about the financial impact. I've actually spoken with Dr. McNeely about exploring alternative funding resources to ease this burden. Her openness and leadership gives me hope that this is the kind of collaboration and advocacy that I will continue to do with the residents and the community, with leadership, one rooted in listening, truth, and always putting our families first.
Our second question, Claudine, you'll start. There has been a great deal of debate, both online and among legislators, about the merit of a ban on cell phones at school. Our district recently took steps to limit cell phone and smartwatch usage, requiring K through 8 students to keep devices away for the day and high schoolers to keep phones away during instructional time. Do you think the district went far enough with this plan? Why or why not?
Thank you. This was a top priority for me when I got on the board, having a son that definitely abused using his cell phone in class, so I saw the negative aspects of it. I think that we did a measured approach. We collaborated intensely with staff, with students, with parents, and the administration to understand really what was happening in the classroom and how we could influence and give them the right policy to go forward. We did away for the day for the younger grades, and the high school, we had to make a decision. These guys are going out into the real world, and they needed to learn responsible use. And taking them out of the classrooms, giving the teachers the freedom to teach and the kids to listen was very important. They have access to them in limited doses throughout the day. And as we said throughout the entire process of passing the policy, this is a work in progress. If we get feedback from our administrators and from our teachers and our principals that we need to go further, we certainly have that opportunity to do it, and it only takes 2 months to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Katie, you're next. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Okay. I think the fact that the current policy is really new, we need to take more of a wait-and-see approach for right now. I think that away for the day is very appropriate for K through 8. There's absolutely no reason that they need to be looking at their cell phones in between classes or in the cafeteria or anything. As far as the high school, I think that we need to not just wait for feedback, but I think we need to solicit it from both teachers and students and just see what they think about it, how it's working, if they think it needs to go further, or if what we're doing is effective. I know I actually just recently spoke to an assistant principal at Cherokee High School where they adopted essentially the same policy, but they provided every single one of their high school teachers with a cell phone caddy. And it's mandatory that the students put their phones in the caddy when they come in. And so I think that's might be the next step if we find that this isn't quite effective enough, if students are still kind of sneaking them out during class. I mean, my son said that half his classes, he has to put it in a caddy, and the other half he gets to keep it in his bag. So, there's a disparity. So.
Thank you, Katie. Simon, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, it's okay. So I'm absolutely in agreement with the school policy. I've read that, and I think it's very doable for the high schoolers, because many high schoolers are multitasking, like my son, who was also taking college courses while he was in high school. So, and his college emails could not come to his school server. So that was something that the high schoolers, and many, as you know, are taking higher level classes outside of the school in their senior year or junior year. So I feel that a little bit of liberty in that case should be on case basis. If they add that, would be nice for students who really need to get their emails or confirmation on their classes, whether canceled or not. Because many times I had to drop him off. Well, he had a class, and the class was canceled, so he didn't have notification. So these are the kind of things, and I think it's best to keep asking people what works for most of them, and then finalize a program that works for all.
Thank you so much. Aisha, would you like me to repeat the question? Okay.
Thank you. I believe that students below the 8th grade generally should not have cell phones at school. However, there could be exceptions, and we need to show compassion that there's student situations, family situations that can be exceptions that need to be made on individual circumstances. And so in those conditions, we should have an open and respectful conversation with the families. Policies should always be implemented with both intention and compassion. With that being said, I do think in starting in high school, students face more responsibilities, as mentioned, after-school committees, college prep, things like that. And we should have structured times for when they can use cell phones under school policy. We need to teach them how to balance connectivity with focus, a skill essential for their future. It's not about outright banning things, but about thoughtful guidelines. Policies like putting phones in lockers or specialized pouches during instructional time have been successful in reducing distractions and improving a classroom environment. If we clearly define when cell phones are permissible and enforce these rules fairly, we communicate our expectations as well, we will support student growth, focus, and responsibility, and get them ready for the real world.
Thank you. Danielle?
Yeah, so the board has spent a lot of time working on the cell phone policy and collaborating with students, administration, faculty, staff, and even parents. It's been discussed at board meetings for many months. So there has been a lot of collaboration on the front end to develop a policy that would eventually be successful and implemented in the schools. I believe I supported the Away for the Day for K-8. I think that's appropriate. And the responsible use in the high school, which really hasn't changed that much, but I like that it gives the teacher the flexibility to implement procedures in their classroom that they feel is necessary for their own student population. And I think that's important to give the teachers that flexibility. The board is taking a wait-and-see approach, so feedback is accepted, and we will re-engage with the stakeholders as necessary to understand what may need to change. But overall, we have received really positive feedback from the staff.
Thank you, Danielle. Katie, you'll answer the next question first. With the permanent superintendent now in place, what actions, policies, and changes to the curriculum would you encourage the superintendent to implement to make the schools more student-focused?
Sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
With a permanent superintendent now in place, what actions, policies, and changes to the curriculum would you encourage the superintendent to implement to make the schools more student-focused?
I think that question kind of gets at the heart of the fact that we haven't had a new strategic plan since 2019, which was 3 superintendents ago. And it was in a pre-COVID world, which was very different than where we are now. And I think that as a district, in order to shift our priorities, we first need to figure out where we want to go as a community. And in order to do that, we need to, have surveys, do forums to try to figure out what the stakeholders want from our district. The previous strategic plan had to do with world-class learners, creating world-class learners, and on social and emotional learning, which are 2 very relevant things. But with the increase in technology and AI and all those areas, I really think that we need to focus on adding those to the curriculum, but finding out, what people want, what the administration wants, what the teachers want, what the parents want, where we want to move forward. We obviously, as a district, we're moving forward as far as infrastructure and doing a lot of things, but we need to focus on where we need to go curriculum-wise and with a strategic plan as a guiding principle.
Thank you, Katie. Saima?
Since, as we know that the strategic plan has not been updated since 2019, and that was quite a time that has spent not doing that, and I think it's time that now that we have a full-time, the reason why we didn't have it because we didn't have a full-time superintendent, so now that we have a full-time one, we can, work it out and bring it up to par. But I would definitely like to see more emphasis on special education, in the new plan. A lot of our students are going outside of our district, and we have to spend like more than $1.1 million so to get this resources that they need to get. So I would like that to be added so that if we could have it in our own town, we would, not only that we're going to make more money if people would come from other districts and use those facilities in our town. So that is something that I would like to see in the new plan, how to get our, our money back and get new teachers to help.
Thank you. Aisha?
So Moorestown's curriculum is incredibly strong. I was amazed to see how first graders are doing algebraic word problems, a sign of how our district is exceeding national standards. Our STEM program is exceptional. Our teachers are deeply committed, and after-school offerings help students explore interests beyond the classroom. With the recent referendum, we're also going to expand our computer program and instructions critical for preparing students and careers in the AI and other advanced fields. I'm also thrilled about this full-day kindergarten coming, a long overdue step towards stronger early education. But that said, we still have a lot of room to grow. Reducing class sizes should be a priority. It'll allow for more personalized instruction and better outcomes. We also need to support student well-being, making sure our curriculum nurtures emotional and mental health, not just academics. Finally, I'd advocate for better communication around student progress, including a spring check-in for parents to discuss both academic and social developments. We have a lot to be proud of and even more we can build on, and that's what I will do as a leader with the superintendent. Thank you.
Danielle? And if you guys can, try to speak clearly into the microphone. Some of your voices are not being picked up in the back.
Okay, can you please repeat that question?
Absolutely. With the permanent superintendent now in place, what actions, policies, and changes to the curriculum would you encourage the superintendent to implement to make the schools more student-focused?
Okay, I think with a new superintendent, it's important to provide historical background of the town, to give the superintendent an understanding of the community's values, and make her aware of what works, what might not work. I think it's important to provide professional development for the teachers in order to support all students and make sure there's interventions in place and supports that they need, whether that's challenging them more or providing other supports, including mental health. So I think understanding our needs as a district and assessing those individually will help create a plan and a mission for our school district going forward.
Thank you. Claudine?
Thanks for repeating it. It's a long one. So I'm giving this some thought. I mean, we were so fortunate to have some fresh eyes on the district with Dr. McNeely and letting her spend this last year figuring out kind of what's working, what's not, so we can get ready for the strategic plan, which we will be taking on, the next board will be taking on in the new year. I believe we have opportunities probably to enhance, our relationships with businesses outside the community, outside of the district, doing some internships and hands-on work, having collaborations with some of the businesses and community organizations around us. One of my big issues is we adopt curriculum as a board. We don't direct, what they adopt, so we take our lead from the experts and the subject matter experts. But I do want to see and ensure that we're establishing critical thinking skills embedded in all of our curriculum that we currently have in place, and not just teaching for a test or memorizing or doing the hard math that we're hearing about that our kids are going through in UES. But critical thinking skills are essential, and I want to see that throughout all of the coursework.
Thank you. Saima, you're up next for the next question. What is your position on policies that determine student access to gender-segregated spaces, such as restrooms and locker rooms, based on gender identity?
Can you please repeat? There's an echo. Can you please repeat the question?
What is your position on policies that determine student access to gender-segregated spaces, such as restrooms and locker rooms, based on gender identity?
I believe in having gender-appropriate restrooms in school and locker rooms where people feel comfortable and not threatened. It's a kind of a tricky question, so I need to kind of put my thoughts together on this. I feel that safety of our students, whether they are boys or girls, is very important, or any gender. And if they don't feel comfortable in any situation, that's not a good thing. So I would really have gender-appropriate bathrooms, in our school system. Thank you.
Thank you. Aisha, would you like me to repeat the question?
I think I understand.
Okay.
This is the hardest part of tonight. Okay. Thank you for raising this important issue. I believe every student deserves an educational environment where they feel safe, respected, and supported. At the same time, when addressing matters related to sensitive spaces, it is essential to balance the rights and privacy of all students. I support policies that maintain appropriate boundaries to ensure the comfort and safety of every individual, which may include providing reasonable accommodations for transgender students that respect both their dignity but also the privacy concerns of their peers. This is a complex issue and sensitive matter that requires thoughtful deliberation and collaboration with families, educators, and experts. If elected, I will approach these issues with careful consideration, striving to uphold fairness, respect, and the well-being of all our students in our district. Thank you.
Thank you. Danielle, would you like the question repeated?
Sure.
What is your position on policies that determine student access to gender-segregated spaces, such as restrooms and locker rooms, based on gender identity?
The board follows the New Jersey law against discrimination, which prohibits the board to limit access based on gender identity. And the district policies must protect privacy and dignity for all students. The district provides locker room alternatives for anyone who feels uncomfortable, but these private changing areas should be able to be used by anybody without explanation. I believe that the physical safety and mental health and protection from harassment should be prioritized for all students.
Thank you. Claudine?
Thank you. So as Danielle said, we're functioning under, we have to follow New Jersey law against discrimination. It was passed in 2018, and it absolutely gives everyone the right to use the locker room or bathroom or changing space of their gender identity. And that is what we do, and we comply in our district. I think what that law does not take into consideration is often the comfort level of others other than the person that's using that space. So when we've come into this situation in our schools, we've ensured that there's policies and procedures that protect every student and their comfort level. So there are alternative spaces offered for those other students. I think this is about emotional safety. We talk about physical safety in our schools, but emotional safety is top priority. And I believe that we're doing a good job with the students that are in our district in both areas to provide them the safe spaces they need.
Thank you. Katie?
As Claudine and Danielle said, we follow the guidelines set by the state. We don't. Okay. As Danielle and Claudine said, we follow the guidelines that are set by the state, which is that all students should be referred to with their preferred pronouns and name, and can also use the restrooms and the locker rooms of the gender that they identify with. We have an obligation to ensure that all of our students feel safe, respected, and seen. If there are students that are not comfortable with these policies and guidelines that we're following, then we can make accommodations for those students, no matter who they are. The school district needs to take into account how our students are feeling. We need to have open communication with our students and make sure that we are understanding their experiences within our schools. And if we're finding that students aren't comfortable, or there's a large group that aren't comfortable due to the policies, then maybe we need to revisit it. But as of now, we're following the state guidelines, which is that they can any student uses the bathroom of the gender that they identify with.
Thank you. Aisha, you'll be first with the next question. With social media becoming more and more prevalent in everyday lives, what do you feel is appropriate and responsible handling of a teacher and their personal social media? Would you support having a policy in place that requires teachers to uphold a certain standard if their profile is public? And if so, what standards would you like to see in place?
Thank you. This is really important for all the leaders that take roles in which people look up to them, and teachers are one of the most important leaders of our society, our country, our nation. While everybody does have the right to their privacy and how they want to live their lives, when you take a position such as a teacher, physician, lawyer, any sort of leadership position, there is a respectable ethical value that you uphold in your position. If you are able to have students find the things that are online and it leaves an impression, it can create a lot of controversy. And instead of having that happen and having the students, unfortunately, start conversations, it's best that we have a respectful relationship with our students, our leaders, and our educators. As far as social media is concerned, it's prevalent everywhere. We can't escape it. And we have to respect that and respect our roles as motivators and role models for the people that we work with.
Thank you. Danielle?
Could you repeat that one more time? Sorry.
Of course. With social media becoming more and more prevalent in everyday lives, what do you feel is the appropriate and responsible handling of a teacher and their personal social media? Would you support having a policy in place that requires teachers to uphold a certain standard if their profile is public? And if so, what standards would you like to see in place?
I think that social media, it would be very hard to pinpoint when somebody was using that during the day. So I am not in a position to limit anyone's speech, nor would I ever want to. And I would hope that people who are using social media are using it in a responsible way that reflects the values of the institution in which they work.
Thank you. Claudine?
So there's two parts to this question. How would we handle the teacher? And it's not our job as the board, right? That is not our position, that is not our role. We leave that up to the superintendent and the administration. That's who we hired, and that's what she is hired to do. The second part of it is, and of course I should know this as policy chair, but we do have a policy that does address social media use for our staff, for administrators, and as well as the ethics of the board. So we are held at a higher standard, and there is already a policy in place for superintendents to use to review any inappropriate or questionable public forward information. The students are savvy. They do find their teachers. They are doing what we think they're doing. I think the teachers know that, and I think they're respectful and probably, keeping themselves in check as well.
Thank you. Katie?
Teachers are well aware that they are role models. Students look to them for what's right, what's wrong, and just like everybody, they need to be cognizant of the effects of what they post. There's been plenty of people who've lost jobs over simple posts, and teachers are probably, they're not going to be any different. If they post something that all of a sudden goes viral, this stuff happens, and it's very unfortunate at times, but at the same time, you need to show responsible social media use. I don't think that we should have a policy to police it as a board, but adults, particularly those that are working with children, need to practice responsible social media use and role model it for the kids that they work with.
Thank you. Saima?
So social media has become an integral part of our daily lives now, and educators are no exception.
Saima, we're not using phones. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Thank you.
So my thing is that teachers need to be mindful. They need to know what they can watch during the time that they are online, and what they are. First of all, the privacy policy needs to be mandated, because they cannot post or anything to do with their school or their students, because parents would not agree with that. And many of the times the issues have been seen that they have used social media to put scenarios up there or relate, and people can figure out who they are talking about, even if they don't even post names. So they have to be mindful. It's a big responsibility being a teacher, and we have young folks that are underage, vulnerable, and we need to make sure that we do not cross that line.
Danielle, you'll be answering the next question first. It was recently published in Moorestown Sun that the proposed pilots may impact the school district. What are you hoping for, and how will you aim to achieve those goals?
Okay. There's a difference between operating cost and capital cost. And the referendum passed, and that will assess our capital costs in the district, helping upgrade our space and prepare for the projected growth in town. The total growth over the next 5 years is projected to be 250 to 300 new students, and it costs money to educate those students. Despite the rising cost, the school district is limited to the 2% tax levy cap, and since the pilot funds do not end up in the rateable base, that money is borne by the taxpayers. There are several municipalities around us who do share pilot funds with their school district, and as vice president, I have been involved in these discussions, and I look forward to progressing toward an agreement with the township that reflects the community's priorities in putting our students first.
Thank you. Claudine, do you need me to repeat the question?
I do.
It was recently published in Moorestown Sun that the proposed pilots may impact the district. What are you hoping for, and how will you aim to achieve those goals?
So what I do know is since 2022, we have had our interim superintendent and our new superintendent and our board leadership reaching out to the town council to find out more about the pilot agreements so that we can properly plan for the impact that those developments will have on our district. We've requested details on the signed pilot agreements and timing and anticipated revenue so that we can budget. We know that surrounding towns do share pilot funds with their school districts, so it's really important. We have, Danielle said, somewhere between 250 and 300 students coming in. I think that includes some organic growth as well as the developers' growth. We can't take in, and we can't plan in our normal budget, an influx of a multiple hundreds of kids coming in. We can do just normal moving in and developers coming, buying houses and birth rates. But having hundreds of students come in at once is an incredible financial burden on the district, and we need town council to come to the table and negotiate some kind of agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Katie, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I think I'm good. First of all, children coming into the new developments, once they are here, they are Moorestown students just as much as any other child who lives in town, and we need to educate them as such and not complain that we have these new students. They are Moorestonians once they're here. I've said from the start that one of my main priorities as a board member will be collaboration, and this includes collaboration with town leadership. In the case of pilot negotiations, it is in no one's best interest to have an adversarial or combative relationship with town council. While we may not agree how to go about everything, we are all on the same team, trying to do what is best for our students and our community. I recently actually met with Mayor Law in order to get a better understanding of pilot payments and how they work. We had a great conversation, and he explained it very simply. Pilot payments don't start until the units are occupied. The township has debt service and also needs to provide services to new developments, so they cannot lose money by giving 100% of the pilot payments to the schools, or if they did, then they would just have to raise taxes on their side. It would be a tax burden either way. So after the township's obligations, what remains of the pilot payments is considered discretionary. And so hopefully we can have a positive negotiation with the township as far as the discretionary funds.
Thank you, Katie. Simon, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, thank you. With the pilot program, what I understand is that the pilot agreements fall exclusively under the responsibility of the municipal government. But what the taxpayers paying public needs to understand is that the pilot revenue, unlike property tax revenue, flows away from the schools and into the coffers of the municipality. It is us, the taxpayers, who have to make up the tax revenue gap the pilot agreement creates. As a board member, I would introduce a resolution from the board to the township asking that pilot revenue be shared in the same proportion as tax revenue among the entities supported through our property taxes. New Jersey law directs 95% of pilot revenue to municipalities and 5% to the county. None of it is automatically shared and with the schools. In response to concerns, Moorestown's mayor has communicated that the township intend to create a revenue sharing agreement with the school district. But to let you know, I have also talked to Mayor Law, and this pilot money does not even come in till all the property.
Your time
oh,
is up.
sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry about that. Okay.
Aisha, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I'm okay, thank you. I deeply appreciate this question. Like many in our community, I'm very concerned about the impact of the pilot funding of our schools. As a parent with children in the district, this is a very personal issue for me as well. If anyone's read the Moorestown Sun today, it explains the pilot program extremely well, and Katie did a great job summarizing it tonight. But instead of engaging in political drama, as we saw in certain leadership at the last Board of Ed meeting, I've proactively built relationships with the town council and mayor. Through these conversations, I've already received assurances of a financial commitment to support our schools as affordable housing developments move forward. While the specifics are still being finalized, I believe in working collaboratively to ensure our schools get their fair share. This means staying at the table, advocating consistently, and focusing on solutions, not division. At the end of the day, strong schools and a strong town go hand in hand. I'll continue to lead with respect, persistence, and a clear priority, putting Moorestown students and families first. One focused on building bridges, securing resources, and ensuring every child in Moorestown has access to the best education in the state and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you. Claudine, you'll answer the next question. As a board member, how will you support an education that is accurate, inclusive, and prepares students to think critically, especially when approving curricula and books that reflect the diversity of New Jersey and our nation?
That's a lot. Once again, as a board, we're looking to the subject matter experts on the ground. and then we approve the curriculum through our committee and through the board. I think critical thinking is just one of the most important things that we can focus on with our curriculum. As far as, what was the second half of the question? Sorry.
Repeat the whole question.
It's a long one.
As a board member, how will you support an education that is accurate, inclusive, and prepares students to think critically, especially when approving curricula and books that reflect the diversity of New Jersey and our nation?
I think primarily we have to look at the professional development of our staff and our staff to be able to adapt to the curriculum that's before them. I think that's primarily what I would focus on, is making sure that they have the resources and the professional development to learn the new curriculum, to process it, and to be able to translate it to our kids in a digestible and age-appropriate manner, of course.
Thank you. Katie? Yes. As a board member, how will you support an education that is accurate, inclusive, and prepares students to think critically, especially when approving curricula and books that reflect the diversity of New Jersey and our nation?
So similarly to what Claudine just said, as far as curriculum is concerned, we are not choosing and picking curriculum. We're approving curriculum as board members. But as far as a curriculum that reflects the diversity of the community and the state, I think one of the things that we really need to make sure that we are doing is ensuring that our teaching staff represents the diversity within our community and within the state. So we need to make sure that we're doing our best to recruit teachers that represent different backgrounds, whether we're going outside of our normal process to recruit teachers. We could go to different, traditional, go to historically black colleges and universities to try to increase our African American population of teachers.
Thank you. Saima?
Can you please repeat the question one
Yes.
more time?
As a board member, how will you support an education that is accurate, inclusive, and prepares students to think critically, especially when approving curricula and books that reflect the diversity of New Jersey and our nation?
It's a difficult question to answer, but I believe that our curriculum and our books that we have should reflect the sentiments of our community that we live in. The books need to be, whereas history books are concerned, we need to teach our children the correct history. There should not be any books just based on because we don't like something about the history and we do not want to share that with. I believe that history books or history should be represented the way it is. And what I would like to see is that in consultation with administration and educational professional, we should employ and see like a data that indicates how well these populations, the different populations are served in our community. For instance, it's kind of difficult to put it together. All right, sorry.
Thank you. Aisha?
Can you repeat it once?
Yeah. As a board member, how will you support an education that is accurate, inclusive, and prepares students to think critically, especially when approving curricula and books that reflect the diversity of New Jersey and our nation?
So as we look ahead, I believe we need to have a strategic plan that focuses on equity, academic excellence, and future readiness. As far as culture of diversity is concerned, it all starts with us as adults, parents, educators, and board members. We model the behavior for our children, and if we want to have inclusive kids, we must first be inclusive ourselves. We need to also take a hard look at programs that often get overlooked, including the gifted, special education, and services for multilingual learners. We need to make sure that every student is truly supported. At the same time, we must maintain rigorous academic standards while expanding access to new courses in STEM, arts, and world languages and history. Also, another part of this would be including social emotional learning, which we have a great program, enhancing it, and mental health support as a top priority, especially in light of what stresses the students face. I'm also focused on infrastructure, making sure that upgrades from the referendum are implemented well with safety, accessibility, and modern learning environments in mind. Finally, communication and community input and engagement to focus on our responsibilities, both academically, inclusivity, and also with the fiscal responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Danielle?
The superintendent recommends the approval of the curriculum to the board, and those curriculum writings are written by subject matter experts and supervisors, overseen by the assistant superintendent of curriculum and instruction. I believe that the facts of history should be taught clearly and accurately, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and this is why we have those specialists and subject matter experts to make sure that that happens. I think that it's important for children to be able to see themselves in the stories that they read. And I also think that PD is important to be able to have teachers adapt to different methods of teaching for varying diverse populations. Thank you.
Thank you. Katie, you'll answer the next question first. What does a truly equitable school system look like to you, and what is the single most important step you would take as a board member to move the district closer to that vision?
An equitable school district means that all students get what they need in order to have the opportunity to be successful and safe. This does not mean that every student will receive the same supports and accommodations. The district needs to be able to identify which students or groups of students have greater need for supports and then be able to implement those supports. This might mean not only identifying students who would benefit from tutoring or a mentorship program, but whose families may not seek it out on their own or can't afford it on their own. In order to create a truly equitable school district, the number one thing we need to do is look at the data. The numbers don't lie. We need to see who is succeeding, who is not succeeding, and look for patterns in order to determine why. Once we understand the commonalities, we can focus our energy on the disparities that exist and how to rectify them.
Thank you. Saima, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
What does a truly equitable school system look like to you? And what is the single most important step you would take as a board member to move the district closer to that vision?
First of all, I would like to mention that the whole concept of equitable or equity is pretty old, and it became a law in 1975 in what became the Individuals with Disability Education Act, mandating that children with disability receive free, appropriate public education in the least restrictive of manners. Today we take this for granted, but all of that equity and inclusion initiatives required, like special education. In that resource, we allocate the population of students with special needs or circumstances. Again, in consultation with the administration and education, professional employed by the district, I would seek data that indicates how well these populations are served. I would also make sure we understand these populations to include students who come to school hungry, students experiencing trauma like violence or drug use at home, and recent immigrant arrivals. We need to count on our educators to understand and address the needs of a wide range of students.
Aisha, would you like me to repeat the question?
Thank you. So overall, I believe Moorestown performs pretty well, but we still see these achievement gaps among students with disabilities, English learners, and economically disadvantaged students. These disparities are small in number, but they have a significant impact, and we can't ignore them. First, we should expand our early intervention. The earlier we support with IEPs, 504 plans, or language needs, the better their long-term outcomes. We also need to ensure that our teachers have the tools to connect with all kinds of learners through professional development that supports instructional strategies for different backgrounds, learning styles, and needs. I'd advocate for clearer data tracking by subgroup and more transparency on how we're closing these gaps. That means working closely with groups like Moorestown Special Education Advocacy Council and ensuring resources are directed to where they're most needed, not just where they're most visible. This isn't about lowering expectations, it's about removing barriers so every student can rise to meet them. You don't need to be a millionaire to receive $1 million education. You just need to be a Moorestown resident.
Danielle, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yeah, please.
What does a truly equitable school system look like to you? And what is the single most important step you would take as a board member to move the district closer to that vision?
I think it's important for all students to feel safe, included, and feel a sense of belonging. I think that students learn best when they feel comfortable in the space that they're in. I think it's important to listen and communicate to the student community, to the parents, to understand what the needs are. I think it's important for the teachers, they're the boots on the ground, they're seeing things in the classroom to report back maybe what they think is going well, what isn't going well, what supports they might need, what students need to be challenged, and it needs to be taken at an individual level. So each student is supported at the level necessary to continue growth in their educational journey at school.
Thank you. Claudine, would you like me to repeat the question?
No,
Okay.
I'm going to wing it. So what does it mean to be equitable? I had a lot of time to think about it. I really do believe that we have to meet every student where they are. I think we focus so much on sometimes our gifted and sometimes our special ed, that there's a group in the middle that often is not intentionally, but forgotten in some way. So I do believe we have to put some of our already fantastic resources into identifying kids that need that extra help. The single most important thing to do to get that vision, I know this might seem a little odd, but I think we already did. We hired an amazing superintendent that has a clear vision and understanding, and now she's had a year to look at our district and understand our good and our bad. And I think I'm looking very forward to our strategic plan where we can kind of focus on equity, make sure that we're meeting our goals, look at the data, as everyone has said, and make sure that every student can be successful and thrive at whatever they do after high school.
Thank you.
Saima, you'll answer this question first. This is going to be the last scripted question of the night, and then you'll be able to do closing statements. How will you ensure that the district remains competitive in recruiting and retaining high-quality teachers and administrators, including those with specialty certifications?
I think it's a great question. School boards are responsible for creating the student, educator, and educator and an educator and parent experience in the school. Teachers want to work in a district where they feel valued and have the tools and support that they need to be effective in their jobs. The Board of Education needs to see that the district and the building leaders share our vision for the schools and create a kind of environment that values our staff as professionals while holding them accountable for results. Thank you.
Thank you. Aisha?
With the nationwide teacher shortage, Moorestown must be bold and strategic to attract and retain outstanding educators. First, we should pursue grants like the New Jersey's Teacher Climate and Culture of Innovation grants, which helps district reduce administrative burdens and allows teachers to spend more time teaching. Second, we adopt a grow your own model by partnering with colleges and teacher prep programs. We can offer teacher residencies or sponsorships so promising local candidates can train while gaining real classroom experience. Third, enhancing incentives is key. Consider competitive hiring bonuses, loan forgiveness, especially in high-need subject areas, and stipends for innovative and leadership roles. New Jersey already offers a teacher loan redemption program offering up to $5,000 a year for qualifying teachers. We must also create a supportive daily environment, mentorship, professional development, wellness resources, and fewer administrative demands so teachers feel valued and effective. To measure this success, we will track metrics like retention rates year to year, teacher satisfaction surveys, vacancy rates, and performative outcomes. If we see improvement, we know we're on the right path. Thank you.
Danielle?
I think Moorestown prides itself on being a high-performing district, and I think that one of the main things that the board can focus on is asking the teachers what attracts you to Moorestown and what keeps you here. And also coming in with competitive salaries. I led the negotiations team for the current teacher's contract, and it resulted in an agreement that honored the staff's value while also supporting the district's long-term financial stability. I think that's important for a board. I also think that it would be beneficial to maybe provide an exit survey for those who are not staying with the district to understand why maybe they left, and just asking those questions and processing the data and coming up with a plan to retain teachers, keep the competitive salaries, and keep our talent here in the district.
Thank you. Claudine?
Thank you. As Danielle said, I was also on the negotiations committee, and one of the things that one of our goals was to address the salary guide and increase the starting salary so that we could encourage and entice young new teachers to come into the district. We have an amazing retention rate. I don't know the stats. I'm sure Lisa does. But we have an amazing retention rate. If you go to back to school night and you're sitting in, and your teacher is saying, I've been here 30 years, I've been here 28 years, it blows your mind. I mean, I experienced it from kindergarten all the way to senior year in high school. So I think what we're doing is a great job with retention and recruiting. I think, it is hard. There is a teacher shortage, but we are a district where teachers want to come, and there's a reason for that, right? It's not just their benefits. It's not what you would think. They have an amazing community of teachers in our district, and they feed off each other, and they have really positive relationships with the administration and with the students. I think one area what we can do is just probably do student teaching and just have some relationships with the community colleges to kind of do a little bit better recruiting. But I think we're doing a great job.
Thank you. Katie?
I know the board just finalized negotiations, I think, last spring, and so the teacher contract is currently good through, I believe, the 28th. Sorry. Okay. I believe that the board recently negotiated the contract, I think, last spring, and those contracts are good through the 28-29 school year. I think they did a good job setting the starting salary guide as higher to attract new teachers. I think we need to make sure that we're continuing that so that we are attracting, a quality group of new teachers, and then we also need to make sure that we're enticing them to stay with our negotiations and what the salary guide is. As far as once they're here, we need to make sure that new teachers have strong mentor relationships within the schools to make sure that they are getting the support that they need, and that they have somebody that they can go to when they might be struggling. And we do need to have, just like anything, there needs to be communication with our teachers. We need to figure out what we're doing right and maybe what we're not getting so right so that we can improve upon it and we can adapt to help make them want to stay.
Thank you. We're getting towards the end of our time together tonight. We would like to give the candidates some time to make closing statements. This may include clarifying anything that was said earlier. We would also like the candidates to let the audience know how you can be reached for follow-up questions, whether it's email, Facebook page. Candidates will have up to 2 minutes to help the audience understand why you're asking for their vote. You'll only be allotted one closing statement. This time we will start with Claudine and we'll work our way backwards.
Thank you so much. First, I want to say how truly grateful I've been to serve the community. Every day, I see how hard our staff and our administration and our fellow board members work every day, and our home and school and parents, of course. While there's always room to grow, we're so fortunate to have this strong district and continue to strive for excellence. With that said, I really think, even with the questions tonight, which were hard and excellent, we have to consider, when you look at these candidates, you have to know exactly what the role of the board is. We are not boots on the ground. We don't get involved in the implementation and operations. We provide oversight and strategic direction. We want to make sure our superintendent and administrators have the right policies and resources in place to do their job. That is our role. few areas I'd like to continue working on, if given the opportunity to continue, is strengthening our communications in the district. We obviously saw during the referendum the strength of our new superintendent and the way that she communicated. That was severely lacking in previous years, and that was a primary goal when we did our superintendent search. As we talked about earlier, I think there's opportunities to expand on hands-on learning and mentorships and internships given the referendum. Champion curriculum that has critical thinking incorporated into it, and ensuring our annual budget and our referendum funds are used strategically and as we promised. As far as transparency, I think one of my primary goals during being chair of policy committee is to make them user-friendly. They read like legalese, and they're very difficult. So that is something that I'm working on with the administration to transition. I want to end with this before you show me my time. One of the things I'm most proud of, and my husband will laugh, my son Eric, who's a freshman in Auburn, he called after the first few weeks of school. He said, "Mom, I guess Moorestown really prepared us well." He was already seeing 2 weeks in kids looking for tutoring and kids looking for help and struggling in his class. And he felt confident and he felt ready. And that's exactly what I want for every student, to leave Moorestown ready for whatever comes next. Position number 1, vote for me, early voting or election day, and email you can find on my social media, but it's claudine4boe@gmail.com.
Thank you, Claudine.
Thanks.
Katie? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Danielle.
I'm honored to have served as I close out my first term coming up here at the end of the year, and I really hope to continue to serve in a second term, to continue the work that we have done as a board. With that, I am an analytical, data-driven, and dedicated problem solver. In my day-to-day work, I make high-stake decisions quickly. I receive requests to assess aircraft that have sustained battle damage and determine whether or not they can fly again to move troops out of danger. In those moments, no, or you can't do that, is an acceptable answer. I must find a solution no matter how complex the problem is, because people's lives depend on it. I will continue to bring that same mindset and commitment to serving our schools. No concern is too big or too small. I believe strongly in collaborating with all stakeholders, listening, asking questions, thinking critically. This recent example of the adoption of the new cell phone policy was a good example of that. Has been a tremendous amount to learn in my first term, and I'm proud of the meaningful progress the board has made. With a new superintendent and capital projects on the horizon, consistent leadership is important more now than ever. As board vice president and engineer, a mother, I bring both the values and technical expertise needed to lead with integrity, responsibility, and effectiveness. Feel free to reach out to learn more about who I am. You can contact me through my Facebook page, and I'd be honored to earn your vote on November 4th. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Aisha?
Thank you again for your time tonight. I'm not here to play it safe, I'm here to lead. I'm here because Morristown deserves a Board of Education that is clear in its purpose, bold in its decisions, and unwavering in its focus for students and families. As a pediatric anesthesiologist, I'm trained to make split-second decisions under pressure with safety, outcomes, and people's lives on the line. I don't shy away from responsibility, I carry it, and I bring that same clarity and confidence to this role. As a mother of 2 in this district, I live with what so many of you live with. I see the strengths of our schools and the cracks we need to fix. I will bring children and families to the center of every conversation and every vote. I will advocate without hesitation for what is right, not what is easy, but what is right. When decisions impact our community, you'll hear about them. I will work to make the board more transparent, more communicative, and more inclusive. I'll be a voice that listens and acts. This is a nonpartisan board, and I intend to keep it that way. Our students don't benefit from division, and neither does our community. I will be a bridge, not a barrier. Over the past year, I watched certain members of leadership at the board level make decisions not rooted in what's the best interest for our children or families, but in personal agendas and divisive rhetoric. I've witnessed meetings dominated by bitterness with little focus on unity or solutions. If our leaders can't model respect and collaboration, what message does that send to our children? I've spent my entire career bringing people together in high-stress, high-stakes situations across differences of opinion, background, and authority. I will bring that same approach to this board. Moorestown needs leadership that brings people together, not apart. I will be a board member who listens. When decisions affect you, you will hear about them. I will not allow our community to be sidelined or caught off guard. Above all, I will be present, accessible, and accountable, because representation means nothing if it doesn't represent all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Saima?
Thank you. I'm not an educator by profession, but I am a long-term learner, lifelong learner, a healthcare provider with a doctorate degree in medical science and a builder of strong, inclusive communities. If elected, I will focus on accountability and excellence, ensuring our district plans wisely for new facilities, growth, and full-day kindergarten, while keeping student success at the center of every decision. I will hold our administration accountable to continuous improvement and make sure every dollar is spent transparently and responsibly. Most importantly, I will continue to be a voice for families, for students who need guidance, for teachers who need support, and for a community that deserves clear communication and trust. Moorestown schools are exceptional, and I will work to ensure that they continue to excel by helping students succeed. Working hands-on with balancing budgets for the nonprofits have given me the skill to work within a budget and manage expenses accordingly. I also know the strong schools and strong communities go hand in hand. That's why I will be vigilant in protecting taxpayers' money, ensuring every dollar is spent wisely, and that our investments go directly into programs that truly help students. By doing so, we not only educate our children, but also protect property values and keep Moorestown one of the most desirable places to live. This election is about more than policies. It's about people. It's about the students who need opportunities, the parents who want reassurances, the teachers who deserve our support, and the community that has given me and my family so much. I'm running because I believe in the promise of our schools, and I know we can meet the challenges ahead with thoughtful, transparent, and compassionate leadership. If given the opportunity to serve on the board, I will serve to the best of my abilities. Thank you very much, and vote for me on November 4th, number 5, remember,
Thank
on
you.
the ballot.
Thank you. Katie?
Again, thank you so much for coming out tonight to learn more about all of us, and a big thank you to Home and School and Braver Angels for hosting this forum. I also want to thank the other candidates. It is not easy to put yourself out there. This is a talented group of women up here, and I'm really proud to be sitting here with the other 4. I really appreciate that everyone up here is doing this for the same reason, because we care deeply about our schools and our community. And at the end of the day, that's what this is really all about, wanting the best for our students and believing that we each have something valuable to contribute. For me, that means bringing my background in education, my commitment to research-based and data-driven decisions, my dedication to service, and my willingness to take on tough challenges with honesty, openness, and collaboration. We need to continually ask ourselves, are we making these decisions in the best interests of all of our students and our community? And if the answer is yes to that question, then we are definitely doing something right. Thank you again for being here and for supporting our schools. You can reach me with any further questions. It's Berman for BOE @gmail.com. I am number 2 on your ballot, and I would be very honored to earn your trust and your vote. And go Phils.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank everyone who participated tonight. I'm grateful for the voters for submitting thoughtful questions, to Home and School for hosting, and for Katie Brownstein and Dina DeLuisio for moderating the event. Most of all, and I'm sure I speak for all of us, I'd like to say thank you to the candidates. It's for your willingness to serve your community and for having the courage to run for this office. This wraps up tonight's candidates forum. Don't forget to vote for our BOE at the Moorestown Library or at any number of other drop boxes within Burlington County. Or you can return your ballot to the Board of Elections office in Mount Holly. But please note you will need your ID to vote at this location. Have a great night, everyone, and best of luck to all of the candidates. Thank you.